if you need to do something with BGP, tends to be route maps are the way to do that thing. What we want to do is we want to set up an environment where we're the customer and we want to get two different default routes, and we want to influence which one is the primary and which one is the secondary. Let's see how to do that. First, we have some generic neighbor commands that are pointing to ISP1 and ISP2. And we see that we have a route map in the inbound direction bound to these. What we're doing is we're going to be filtering, and we want to ensure that we only get the default route from the service providers. That's the only thing we want to see. Just the default. But I also have to somehow account for one of these ISPs being the primary. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the primary to be a higher local preference with 150 as the local preference, and the backup will be the default local preference of 100. So it looks like we're referencing this very significant route map. Let's analyze it. So we see route map filter permit 10, and then we match based on a prefix list. Default only. What is that? Well, if we look at default only, we can see that it has the specific prefix listed there, 0.0.0.0/0. When it doesn't have the greater than or equal to, then it's a single subnet or a single prefix match. So that is the default route. That's how to read that. It's just one network. It's the default route. So we are looking for that, and I want to stress and, logical and, Boolean and. When we have multiple match conditions on the same sequence, AS path list 10. AS path 10, which is looking for autonomous system 65100. The way to interpret that one is we want to make sure that it is sourced from autonomous system 65100. How do we do that? We make sure that the end of the string has 65100 and the initiating autonomous system is at the very end of the string. So if it is the default route coming from that autonomous system, we'll give it a local preference of 150. For all other routes, they have to pass through sequence 20. And in this case, we're only going to allow the default route. And we're not changing the local preference, so the local preference for the other default routes, those that come from other autonomous systems, will be given a local preference of 100. Whew. This is a tough one to walk through, but when you can read it, you will definitely be empowered to be able to implement something like this in your environment, and it may very often be the case where you're only looking for things like routes that a service provider initiates and default routes, so you don't have to deal with hundreds of thousands of routes inside of your local routers table.